Welcome to Sci-Fi Book Track. Next week we'll be doing spoilers for Andromeda Strain.
So, we've discussed that the book is very, very good.
Yeah.
That is to say, that said, nothing, I think, is without some nitpicks, which I think is where this is going to start with.
Yeah. There are some nitpicks which are, well, that's a bit odd.
Mm. But one of the things that I picked up on, it's interesting, the opening part of the narrative is set in a town called Piedmont, which I was interested to find out is an actual ghost town in Arizona. Yeah.
Nice.
So legitimate thing, and it would have been a ghost town probably in Crichton's day.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that he's picked up on that. That said, when I looked into it, the position of the town is not accurate to where the book puts the town.
Right.
The book puts it as south of Las Vegas, east of San Bernardino, and west of Phoenix, and at a spot with no important areas of habitation for a radius of nearly 112 miles. Now that's straight out of the book.
Yeah.
So that puts it in like this barren mountain area. Now, to skip ahead a little bit, that's where the town is, but Wildfire is 60 miles from Las Vegas. So the area of the town is actually more remote than the place where they've got the dangerous facility to process. So that kind of came off to me as like a, what? Why?
I mean, they do have safety measures in the facility.
Yes. But it's just, it made me amused that the town was more remote than the Wildfire installation. But yeah, to go back to what I was saying, the position of the ghost town that exists is not where the book puts it, because the book puts it in a slightly different area of Arizona. So that was one of the things that I kind of that came out to me on the reread.
I mean, did you look at snowfall in the region?
No, I didn't.
What came out to me. Because initially, well, Piedmont is covered with snow. And that helps it also be not only how far away it is, but it's also the snow's on the ground, so it's isolated even more because some of the roads are covered. But yeah, it was just, it's in Arizona and covered with a blanket of snow.
Yeah.
In the Mojave Desert, which, I don't know, to me, that sounds odd.
Yeah. I've got to admit, I mean, I've obviously got no idea because we're both UK based.
I'm sure at some point there has been snow, but I'm not sure how regular. Does it happen annually?
Yeah. Well, it's like that idea of...
It doesn't happen annually in the UK.
No.
So, but I don't see it happening annually in the desert.
If there's one thing to be said about doing a YouTube channel, it's that it shows you exactly how much you don't know and where certain personal biases can creep in. It's at the editing stage when we are watching the footage that you start to question, wait, is that actually correct? And then inevitably we go looking and find out the information is in fact wrong. In this instance, yes, Arizona does in fact have snow. In several places, in fact, and not just the expected places like in the mountain ranges. Today I learned something.
Well,
it's one of those things that not knowing enough about the area, it's like hearing that Florida has snow. I mean, to a Floridian, that might be perfectly thin. He's like, yeah, we get snow all the time. But to someone from the UK, who is like, but Florida's the Sunshine State. How the fuck do you get snow? You know, and it might be one of those Of course we get snow. It's a normal, it's a normal weather system. But when you hear about snow in Arizona, to someone from outside of the country, it's like, what? Wait, isn't that like a
like in the
burning
mountain
desert?
ranges? You could understand.
Well, yeah,
but when it's like a desert plain, it's like, no, you wouldn't get snow.
Yeah,
that's initially what you think. So that strikes you as a little odd, whether it's actual or not. It still comes across as a little odd.
It comes across as odd to someone who doesn't live in the area.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure there's places in California that get snow, and there's probably places in Canada that get beautiful sunshine, but
how regularly, that's also an issue. But yeah. It goes on for another day.
Yes.
I mean, another night, and then Stone and Burton arrive at Piedmont.
Yes.
Now, this is start to get my first nitpick. Well, it's sort of two. One, you find out that, well, as you know by now, if you've read it, a number of people go sort of insane and kill themselves.
Yes.
And most of them kill themselves in what seems conventional ways, apart from the kid.
The one that is able to hold himself underwater.
No. Like, there's a person who drowns himself, a person who hangs himself, and a person who sets him on fire. But then there's the kid who makes models and stuff, and it's implied that he got a tube of glue and just tried to eat all of it, and it's just set. And it's just like, the other ones are, I wouldn't say typical, but like ways to commit suicide. That one just struck me as just bizarre. That stands out from the other suicides.
It is, admittedly, it is a very weird one, but then the suicides themselves, it's not.
Also, as a kid who made airfix, that scared the hell out of me.
But it's categorized later in the book that the pathogen causes
brain hemorrhage.
Yeah, it's massive hemorrhaging across the body, which is why everyone else, the people that didn't go insane, essentially have massive coagulation, and they essentially keel over and they're rock solid because all their blood is coagulated like at once. But the ones that didn't are the ones that have the brain hemorrhages, and they essentially go mad. So,
but my point is, the others commit suicide in like relatively conventional ways. If the kid's got all this like glue from modeling and stuff, he would have a knife, like a scalpel, or at least some sort of knife. Why didn't he just slit his wrists? Because that would be a conventional way.
Maybe, but it's one
I mean,
of those.
It adds to the bizarreness of it.
Yes. It is kind of the going for that element of nonsensical. I mean, you say that drowning yourself is a conventional way. I mean, they actually point out in the book that
the way he's done it is not conventional.
Yeah. Because
you just can't.
Yeah, because your self-preservation instincts kick in long before.
It's like trying to hold your breath.
Yeah. Because as soon as you pass out, even if you're able to get to a point where you pass out, your body will immediately start breathing again once your autonomics kick in. So,
Well, that struck me as odd. The other thing that struck me as odd was he, I think it was Stone, he went into one of the houses, and there's, I think, two parents and a child sitting around a dining table and they're dead.
Mm.
But then he mentions there's flies buzzing over the food. Now, if they're still on the ground, that means it's winter.
Yeah.
And this scene has been frozen in time for 12 hours, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Where do the flies come from? I mean, I know they've got a small gestation period, but to suddenly, in midwinter, be flying around.
It is an interesting thought. The only thing that I could say to that would be the period between the Operation Scoop van and then them turning up at Piedmont is that short. Whereas Operation Scoop, the actual search for the satellite, I think is that another day on top of that? So
No, it was a few hours, I think, because they knew where it had come down. And all the van was doing was triangulating the point.
But they did mention that was slow because it was single point triangulation.
Yeah, but it's like it takes a few hours, but it doesn't take days.
Okay.
That's, I believe, what they said.
The general area that went down in and the area that it's picked up in is different, though, because didn't it come down outside of Piedmont and it was brought in by the dentist?
Yes, but I know the general area it came down in, and the van is pinging off where the satellite is.
Yeah.
So they send the van out to know exactly where it is and grab it. And they know the rough, it's in this, few miles or kilometers or however many, what area you want to define it by, acreages.
Yeah.
So they know the general area, but they'll still need the van to go and pinpoint it. And it doesn't matter if it's been moved from the filmed in the north to the main town. It's still within that general catchment area.
But the point of this was that you don't reckon that flies could...
Yeah, I don't reckon flies could
gestate
and breed that quickly. Or there would be any reason. Because if everyone dies, they don't have timed central heating at that time. So you would imagine the house would go cold.
True.
And the only way there would be flies anyway is if they had pets. For that time of year, you talk about winter, snow's all on the ground. Because how many flies do you see in winter?
Unless they've gotten into the house already. But you say, if the house has gone cold.
Well, I think that means the flies have already been there before the incident and buzzing around. And the people haven't done anything about it. Or it just struck me as odd, the flies.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that...
It just went, especially being winter, especially being the house being cold as well. I know it's warm food and stuff and you want to set the scene, but I don't think there would be flies buzzing around.
Unless they were already in the food. And that's kind of foul to think about.
Anyway, so is there any other nitpicks for
Project Scoop? I wouldn't say it's a nitpick. Actually, I would say that the attention to detail that Crichton gives to several of the elements it's really quite impressive. Like I say, I think he's quite a technical writer in that he tries to do his research and he tries to find what would be the appropriate response or the appropriate way of that perhaps a government agency or certain things would actually handle in that way.
Yeah.
When Stone and Burton turn up later, and there's a specific thing between the pilot and Stone, where it's like, don't fuck up. Because
because you know what, it's going to happen to the pilot.
Yes, because the pilot has essentially been told that if his 2 charges die, he's got to fly to the one base and essentially hover in the air above this one base while they find out the best way to incinerate him.
Which I do find a bit odd, because if they're just going to, two scientists die, why have the helicopter fly out of that area to somewhere else to be destroyed? Why don't you just always
destroy it on site?
Yeah, or is that something they tell the pilot?
I mean, it could be.
No, because they've got another plane in the area, like a fighter jet, ready to lock on,
just in case he decides to
go somewhere else.
So, I mean, that's doubling the risk.
Well, that's the thing. It's just, why don't they just blow it out and scope there and then?
Yeah. But it does seem like an appropriate reaction, is what the point that I was making. Admittedly, you've now got my nitpicking heading back into it, because it would be more sensible, admittedly, to blow it up on the site rather than bring it back to an Air Force base with it possibly contaminated from the outside. But, it's the little things, and the fact that the pilot's getting paid like $1,000 a day to do.
He's getting overtime, danger time, all sorts of time. Yeah.
But
it's like the little details like that which makes it seem even more real.
Yes.
Do you want to move on to Wildfire Institute?
We can do. Yeah, that might be a better. So, Wildfire itself, the institute is 5 levels.
Yes.
So it's built into the ground. It's 5 basement levels. Each level has a different set of controls, because they spend
each one's more cleaner and than the one above.
Yeah. There's an inordinate amount of time spent discussing how the human body is one of the most dirtiest things in the world, and making it safe so that you can work in these very, very controlled clinical areas. There's a lot of detail that goes into it. The guys they are picked as well for not having problems.
Although, to some extent, they still have questions like, are you allergic to this or this?
Yes,
and stuff like that.
Because Horn's allergic to ragweed pollen.
Yeah.
But
because that's on the first level, they have to answer a load of questions.
Yeah. There's a lot of administration and making sure that they're going to be capable.
I have no idea what ragweed pollen is.
Ragweed. We've got the shit in our garden. But apparently it's stuff that it's quite dangerous. It's dangerous for dogs, and if you grab the plants, they can burn you. It can actually physically burn your skin. So I think you probably find that a lot of people are allergic, but it's not. Anyway, off
topic.
Very off topic. But there's an inordinate amount of detail spent to determine the different levels of biological control and how much they go towards making a secure environment. And that's neat. That's nice. That's nice detail. I do like that. So I'm not just nitpicking the shit out of things.
Oh, no. He's very good how it's done, or like all the processes they go through, and everything's explained. Like, you never feel lost. even by like some of the other process, like the government processes and going on about like receiving signals and stuff like that.
Yeah. But
like the thing I liked, one of the things I liked was how it's disguised above ground. It's like a cornfield.
Yeah, it's an agricultural research site.
Yeah.
But and actually a working agricultural research site. It's not a case of that it's a disguise. It's an actual research thing to its own end.
Well, like initially when they went into it was Hall and Levitt, they went into sort of like a little wooden shack, which like sounds like a little cafe where the pilots hang out.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh no, come with me." And we drive all the way to this institute, like to the like cornfield house. And they go, "Right, come in here," and we stand in a cupboard.
Yes.
And then he just lowers down.
It's like that scene from The Kingsman.
No, I was thinking Spies Like Us.
Okay.
Wait, would you like to have a Coke? You've never seen that?
No.
Yeah, it struck me as like they took that and probably like Kingsman lifted it as well. It does feel like
it's probably a spy troop at this point.
Yeah,
but
it's quite comical and easy to lift out. But yeah, but it's wondering, was this where that sort of little trope came from? You know, people go, "Oh yes, this is a rundown shack. We'll go into this closet, and then we just get lowered into a secret base."
Yes. What do you think about Wildfire as a? What are your thoughts on Wildfire? Any nitpicks? Any?
I mean, well, the colour scheme they use, it's one. It's interesting as anything, because on certain levels they have to wear certain colours, and the whole floor is coloured that colour.
Yes.
So it does feel like everyone's wearing camouflage. Also, some of the floors they only spend not long on.
Yeah, and it's more a case of that they're spending the time there because they want to gauge reaction to the procedures.
Or they have to wait like 12 hours before the next procedure begins.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it's more of a if in case they have a reaction to something, so that
But why would those floors ever need to be staffed?
I think there might have been a point within, because Wildfire is not just for the purposes of that one pathogen. I think it also deals with other virulent diseases and possible.
Yes, but why would, if you're dealing with a virus, why aren't you dealing it in the most secure room at the bottom, on the bottom floor, all the time? Why would you need the other floors? They're just like temporary respites. But why would they need to be staffed? They could just have bedrooms and stuff. So you just go down to floor -5, yeah. So that's the only issue I had. I was also going, we cut down as much staff as possible.
Yeah. I thought it was that they were researching other less virulent things on the other floors, but I might have made a mistake there.
Maybe. I don't know. I just read it as like, didn't seem like there was any point in having those floors. I mean, like, for like,
security.
Well, yeah, but also like cleaning and getting your, ready for floor 5.
Yes.
But other than that, there didn't seem much point in the other floors. I mean, maybe there are other bases because they have the, the nuclear switch on all of them.
Yeah, but that is a thing that's pointed out that it's
built fine on all the floors except floor 5.
Was it? I thought it was that they shortchanged it and that they were supposed to be places in each room that was supposed to have the.
There was supposed to be one in each section which was be sealed off.
Yes.
But I think he said on floor 5 that's not the case.
Yeah, because of budgetary.
There was a mistake in the plans.
Yes.
And these few sections have not got access
the consoles.
So you've got to make sure you're at the correct point if anything bad goes on.
Which is a bit of a.
But he was saying the other floors they're all fine.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's a major fuck up in design if all you've got on the other 4 floors are essentially the baths and the.
But especially seeing as the layout is supposed to be roughly the same. I mean, you might have sort of different stuff going on in rooms, but where the keys are, where the on-off switches are,
because it's a round.
Yeah. So why didn't anyone? Shaft. Yeah. Why didn't anyone bring you up we had 5 machines on the floor above and on that, and but this floor we've only got 3 machines.
Yes.
Why?
But that's the thing, especially if all the major work is going to be done on floor 5, you would think that would be the one to prioritise installing the machines rather than the other floors, which are just literally.
Well, it's not even prioritised. It was just the plan. Someone read the plans wrong, or they were printed wrong, and we said we only need 3 machines here. So I only put 3 machines in, and no one bothered to check until the scientist turns up and went, "No, we need another 2 machines," and that was a month before or something.
Yeah, but it is a cock up.
Yeah,
but that's one of the themes of the.
It's one of the helps with the main theme of what I think the book's about. But I mean, the scientific investigation. Peter Jackson is probably the best character. He steals every scene he's in.
Yes.
Just because he's a complete drunk.
He's a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
But in a town full of supposedly God-fearing Christian folk who don't know, didn't do any harm to anyone, and the only guy to survive other than a baby.
Yeah, he's
the town drunk. Yeah. Yes, it's God has abandoned this place.
Have you got any other nitpicks about it?
I'm just thinking as time goes on, chronologically. So we got to the Wildfire Institute. We've got down there doing their research. The categorized, the errors that take place drive the drama. One thing I would say about Crichton's writing, and this is a personal thing. So when an error does occur, it's pointed out, and it's pointed out to the reader, and it's like I said with the aforementioned bell.
That's pointed out as near the start, and it doesn't.
Yes, and the point where he gives the rats the anticoagulant, exposes them to the virus, they keel over. He doesn't autopsy the rats, and it specifically says he does not autopsy the rats. That was his mistake. That was the.
But it's still in the caveat of this is a report done after the fact.
True, but it doesn't allow the reader to work that out for themselves, if that makes sense. It's like
No.
you need to know about this. If that had been pushed to a later point where he goes back and he goes, shit, I didn't autopsy the rats, and then you, as a reader, you can then make that connection as like, oh God, he didn't, did he?
Yes.
But it's pointed out, and so later on when that happens, it's like, it's almost like okay, it's a callback, but in terms of the dramatic element of, oh God, I know what I've done wrong, and then it calls back to that point, and it's left ambiguous or open. Whereas Crichton's writing, it's like he draws your attention to it, he makes sure you know about it, so that then you're aware of it when it does come back in the story, rather than it being something that you reread and go, oh.
That's thing. I think with it, he puts an arrow onto it and goes, this is something. He doesn't tell you what it is at that point.
Oh no, that's fair. That's fair.
But I think that's fine, because I think if you're reading it and it's not pointed out like, oh, this is a problem, you might not see it as a problem until it, the conclusion. Like it might, like general knowledge, it wouldn't. It's not like a murder mystery where like you're reading it and trying to work out the clues.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that is fair to be. Yeah,
because most people haven't done autopsies.
No,
or no, procedures.
I guess
take place.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. It just, for me, it just felt a little bit spoon-feedy.
Yeah,
but that's my personal take on it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I fully agree. Just because it does point you to it, but it doesn't tell you what happens until the character finds out.
But I suppose your point about it's not a murder mystery book. That does that.
And with the premise of it being a report, I think he can easily get away with what he does.
Okay. It like I say, for me, that just came out as
no. That's fair. That's valid.
The odd man out hypothesis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's even like it's done for a book.
That's the thing. I got the impression that Stone, within the context of the book, Stone had to invent it as an idea so he could swing the president on it, because the president didn't want to give over control of a nuclear weapon to a bunch of scientists without some oversight. And even then, it doesn't work. But it's almost like they had to go around the houses to find this thing of, well, what can we use to convince him? Okay, well, there's this paper. It's kind of crap, but
that's the thing. I read it as Stone wanted the final say.
Yeah.
He wanted the final say. And then some of the military generals went, oh, well, I'm not sure about this. How about, and they dug up that research and went, look, Mr. President, why don't you do what it says here? This is what we recommend.
Yes.
And then the president's gone, yes, that's slightly better. We'll do it that way. And Stone's slightly annoyed by it. Because he knows it's not exactly great.
Yeah. But it's also not within his hands. It's within...
It's a bitter pill he has to swallow to get the thing done.
Yeah.
The nuclear installed.
Yeah. But to explain the concept, the odd man out hypothesis within the context of the book...
They've read the book. They should know.
That is true.
It basically says, if you're a single male, you're more likely to make the correct decision than anyone else.
Yes.
By twice the amount.
But, I mean, it does at least try to justify itself by saying a male with no connections, no, not necessarily nothing to live for, but at least someone who's got a more logical brain.
No sentimental reasons holding them back.
Yes.
I'm going, nuke everything.
Yeah. It's not deliberately misogynist, is the point. It's based on a logic which is...
Yeah.
I mean...
It's based on what they class as research, but it's research made up.
Yes.
I mean, not only for the book, but also...
But I'd argue, if you did the same... It's also based on 60s ideas, right? If you did the same studies now, I imagine... Well, other than the gender problems, but I imagine that if you did the same studies now, you would probably find that as an equal, like with an unmarried female and an unmarried male, I would say that there's probably going to be...
But is that our viewpoint because we live in this time period?
That's what I'm saying, because I'm thinking
and
if
also,
you take 60s values into it...
Yeah, but if you did something like that now, and the figures came out like that, would you publish them?
That is, that would be admittedly a difficult one to publish, because I can imagine
you just
political...
could not.
Yeah. Oh, messenger theory. The fact that was mentioned, that this pathogen might actually be part of some extraterrestrial method of sending...
communication.
Yes.
It's very interesting theory, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of got me thinking about von Neumann probes, and you know where I'm going with that. It's a different book series. We might deal with it at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah. But that was an interesting sort of secondary thing that kind of came across.
Yeah. I mean, it does fully explain it in the book, so you're not left wondering. Like, all the stuff it brings up, it explains. It doesn't pay short shrift to anything.
Yeah. Other than that, I think I've reached the end of my notes, really.
Could we just give a quick mention to some of the adaptations?
Yes. So, this book was adapted into multiple different forms.
Yeah. The main one was, I think, happened 1 or 2 years after the publication of the book, which was the film.
Yes, the Andromeda Strain film, in which they changed one of the scientists.
Oh, so they changed
Levitt.
What is it? Peter Levitt to Ruth Levitt.
Yes. Which, was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the gender roles of the time. I think that was actually a good move.
It was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So, the character was mostly the same.
Mm-hmm. Still has epilepsy.
Yeah, still has, same problems and stuff, but yeah.
And she's treated as a peer.
Yeah. I mean, she's treated as, the male character is in the book.
Yeah.
There's no...
There's no
reason. Which, oddly, for the book, oddly for a film that time period, I was expecting, they would make one of them female, and it'll be Raquel Welch or something.
Yes.
And she'll be wearing the most skimpiest thing possible.
The point that I was making is that she is treated as a peer. There is no thing to point out, oh, it's a lady. Oh my God, a lady in science. No, it's like, hello, Dr. Levitt. You're she's a respected peer, and that is it. She is treated exactly like the male counterpart in the book. you're not even, if you did not read the book and you only watched the film, you would not even know that the character had been changed.
Mm.
And that is absolutely the way that it should be dealt with. For me.
She's treated like a human being.
Yes.
Rather than, oh no, you're something special. You're not a white man.
Yes. Now, with that in mind...
But no, the film is very good.
Yes.
The only thing I would say, if you're watching the film nowadays and be careful, because there is a scene in it which involves animal suffering.
The
So
animal experimentation.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's in the book, and it's also, I do think it is needed in the film, but it is
graphic.
Not, yes, it's not like a fun watch. Just be careful of that. That's the only thing I would warn people of. I mean, it's only short, but if you're not expecting it, it might hit you.
Right. So
the other adaptations.
That's the book. The other adaptation.
I mean, there is what is it, 2008 miniseries.
Yes, 2008 miniseries.
I've never seen it.
I have never seen it either.
No.
Based on...
I read the synopsis, and it seems like a perfect 2008 piece of entertainment.
Yes.
It seems like the like main driving point of the book, which I think is that, human error and everything's slightly flawed.
Yes.
Seems to be taken out of that series, and it's mostly about, military conspiracies and weird stuff.
But having not
and
seen
just more action.
Yeah.
Having not seen it, just read the synopsis, it seems like it's gone for action rather than telling a concise story.
Yes. But yes, that's the miniseries. There's also a follow-up book, The Andromeda Evolution, which is the one that I was telling you about just.
Which I've never heard of, but yeah.
Yes, published after Crichton's death, and it was the fourth and final novel to actually be published post his departure.
Well, maybe one day we'll read it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's less based on the space aspect. It seems to be based in the jungles of the Amazon rainforest. But it could be a nice follow-up at some point. I haven't seen the critical reception for it, but
well, sometimes it can influence you one way or another. But yeah.
But after enjoying this one,
yeah,
I hope it's a decent follow-up.
I mean, you've read other Michael Crichtons. How would you say compares?
I like it.
Would you say
for me, the two that probably stand out are this one and Jurassic Park, and obviously they're the two that got the biggest. Oh,
what? Not Congo.
Congo book is certainly better than the film.
Just trying to hold a straight face.
Again, Congo is another. Crichton, as I have said before, Crichton's another one. He's a writer that's like, you give him a what-if scenario, and he can write drama to that what-if scenario. Okay.
Anyway, you want wrap up?
Yes.
And you can introduce the next book.
So, thanks for watching again, guys. Next time, we'll be dealing with another Star Trek novel. We're going back to the original series with Kirk with How Much for Just the Planet? I'll put a scan up.
Asking to help.
Okay. But hope to see you there, guys. I hope you're enjoying it.
Bye.
Bye-bye. The whole thing with human respiration is that we only use a small percentage of the air that we actually breathe in, because only a certain amount passes across the alveoli. Pronunciation is going to be a problem.
He shouldn't be called something so stupid anyway.
It's a running fucking joke at this point in these videos.